There's a phrase in kind of classic Christian contemplative tradition around the luminous darkness experience. I suppose connected, quite closely to that idea of the dark night of the soul, a period in life where we all will probably go at some point, and we only think we learn in the light, but there is light to be found in the dark side of life, if you like. And sometimes we only prime the insight that we get from God in the shiny side, and there's stuff to be found in the darkness if we start in the eye, because Jesus did. And so in our darkest nights, He is there. I met Lindsay when she was 17, I was 21. I suppose we went out for 3 years or so, got engaged and got married, and dreamed of a life full of adventure, a life to the full. Our motto in life, our vow to one another, was it would be blown by the wind of the Spirit. The first year was amazing. We had a little one-bedroom apartment in Warringstown where we loved, laughed, lived together. Over a year after we got married, Lindsay took a brain tumour, and we went through a couple of rounds of surgery, chemotherapy, radiotherapy. But in April the following year, so basically 8 months later, she died, and so that began just the most sort of horrendous sort of season of life trying to survive. My own journey, I knew I needed to be true to the pain. I needed to stare the darkness in the eye, that the only way to get to the other end of the tunnel, where there was light, apparently, was to walk right into the darkest part of it, which is the middle. And I knew I had to brace myself for that walk. You just get to the point where you realise nobody can understand. Nobody can get this. My mum and dad have been the most influential people in my life, have been incredible role models. Most of what I go to in life they can help me with, but they never lived through this. They had their own griefs that I can't understand, and it was in that place then that I started to realise that the only person that could get me was Jesus, because He'd been there. And I was starting to recognise and realise that there was no dark corner of my life that He had not already been, and that somehow through His own journey to hell and back, if you like, He had encountered the darkest nights of the soul, and more than that, on the cross He actually embodied that, not just in a transactional kind of way, but in a real, felt, embodied way. I think probably one of the most poignant examples of that and of the heart of God in the whole process, what I was learning about God, was that silence doesn't mean absence, that He's present in silence and He's present in pain in an incredibly intimate way, but just not the intimate way that we think of when we picture ourselves, at the front of a Sunday worship service feeling goosebumps or whatever. That it was an eerie, mysterious, sacred form of intimacy. And the most poignant example of that was probably at nights when I was alone in my bed, and just all that would come out of my mouth were groans, not even words. Sometimes when I opened my eyes and could see through the blurriness of my tears, my dad would be just sitting on the edge of my bed, just putting his hand there or on my leg, or just sitting there, and often just weeping as well. On one particular occasion he said, "Son, if I could take this for you into my own body, I would do it. I wish I could do this for you, but I can't do this for you." And so I remember when he said that, thinking, in one way He showed the heart of, in so many ways He showed the heart of God, that He was present in that. And yet I suppose the difference was that Jesus did, where He couldn't. Jesus did take that into His own body, and yet was present in the same way as my dad sort of showed that to me. The subtitle for the book is Leaning into Pain, Holding on to God, Breaking into Light. I think in some ways that summarises the thread of what I'm trying to get at. Lean towards the pain. Pain that isn't transformed will be transmitted. As hard as it feels and as cruel as it feels at the time, if you don't process your pain, somebody else will get your pain. And I didn't want to be that person that just grew old being cynical and disappointed and thinking the rest of life was second best and I would always be a victim. I didn't want that for my life. And so I had to choose to lean towards the pain. I kept on articulating my grief in the form of the blog, and maybe weekly posted something which seemed to get more and more readership. As well as that, I was exploring and learning that the best place I was finding any language that articulated the pain I was going through wasn't often in modern day church services, but was in the Bible, and in the form of lament and protest and disappointment and song. I just had all this desire to write that or collate my blog and my journals together just to help people journey and process that. And a number of years after Lindsay died, 4 or 5, I'd met Rachel, we'd got married, and Rachel really encouraged me to write the book, and so that was just a massive thing that she would want me to do that, and incredibly mature thing. I started to collate all my old insights in that really dark valley, and realised as I started to collate them and started to write some of my own thoughts and reflections that it started to piece together, and I shared it with one of the editors who has been involved in writing some stuff for 24/7 Prayer, and Muddy Pearl, the publishers, decided that there was a book in this that was worth writing, and they've been brilliant at just journeying with me as I've tried to construct something that is heartfelt, vulnerable, raw, but some kind of process and frame to it. And it's been great to get to this place where after lots and lots of work and lots of hard work from them, alongside myself and others, we've been able to get to this point where Luminous Dark is ready to go.